the hollow echo of an unacknowledged truth rings in the chambers of the self. It speaks of a recognition perpetually deferred, a respect that remains an elusive phantom. We chase it in the mirrored gaze of others, mistaking their fleeting affirmations for the bedrock of our own worth. But what if the very ground we seek to stand upon is shifting, unstable, built not on the solid earth of being, but on the fragile shifting sands of what we are not? The external world, a vast and indifferent ocean, reflects only what we cast upon its surface. If we project an image born of a desperate need to be seen, to be validated by the eyes that survey us, then that is precisely the mirage that will return. The performance is exhausting, the mask heavy, and the applause when it comes feels thin and insufficient, for it claps not for the authentic pulse of life within us, but for the skillfully crafted illusion we present. This relentless pursuit of external approval is a self-imposed prison, a constant striving to fit into a mold that was never designed for the unique contours of our own spirit. It whispers insidious lies, that our inherent value is conditional, that our peace depends on the shifting tides of popular opinion, that our existence is merely a reflection in the eyes of the beholder. The consequence is a profound alienation from the self, a silent war waged against the very essence of who we are, all for the fleeting comfort of a borrowed esteem. The weight of what we believe we lack presses down, a constant, subtle suffocation. We are taught, perhaps implicitly, that acceptance is granted, not inherent, that status is earned through outward displays, not discovered in the quiet depths of inner knowing. This insidious lesson turns us into restless seekers, forever scanning the horizon for signs of approval, forever measuring our worth against an invisible, shifting ruler. We adorn ourselves with achievements, accolades, possessions, believing these external markers will finally unlock the door to genuine regard. Yet the more we accumulate, the more hollow the feeling becomes, for the void within remains untouched by the glittering trophies of the world. It's a tragic irony. The desperate striving for external validation often conceals a profound disassociation from our true selves. We are so busy performing for an imagined audience that we forget the silent, unwavering presence of our own consciousness, the very core that needs no permission to simply be. This performance drains our vitality, leaving us with a gnawing sense of emptiness, an echo of a life lived for others, never fully for ourselves. The respect we seek is not a garment others can bestow upon us. It is the very fabric of our being, woven thread by thread from the honest recognition of our own unfolding. It is the brave act of shedding the masks, one by one, until only the authentic, vulnerable, messy truth remains. The relentless mirror of the other often holds up a reflection we desperately try to manipulate, to polish into something more palatable, more impressive. We contort ourselves, twist our genuine impulses, and silence the dissident voices within, all in the hope that a more agreeable image will earn us the coveted nod of respect. But true regard cannot be coerced. It blossoms from a deeper soil. It's born not from performance, but from presence. Consider the silent pact we make with ourselves, the quiet betrayal of our own intuition when we prioritize external opinion over inner conviction. Each compromise, each suppressed desire, each unspoken truth erodes the very foundation upon which self-respect stands. And without that internal scaffolding, how can we expect the external world to perceive strength, authenticity, or a genuine center? The irony is stark. The harder we strive to earn respect by conforming to others' expectations, the more we diminish the unique essence that truly merits it. This struggle is often a subconscious reenactment of early lessons, where conditional love or approval taught us that our value was something to be acquired, rather than an intrinsic given. To shed this burden is to embark on a painful but liberating journey back to the self, a rediscovery of the inherent dignity that requires no external validation to exist. The constant chase for external recognition is a subtle form of self-abandonment. We leave the sanctity of our inner world to wander in the wilderness of others' opinions, hoping to gather enough affirmations to construct a semblance of worth. But this edifice is always fragile, always susceptible to the shifting winds of popular sentiment. The true shift, the profound change that Alan Watts hints at, lies not in accumulating more external validation, but in dismantling the very framework that makes it seem necessary. It's a dismantling of the belief that our inherent value is a commodity to be earned, a prize to be won. This ingrained habit of seeking approval often stems from a deep-seated fear, a primal fear of rejection, of being alone, of not being enough. We project this internal terror onto the world, then try to appease it by becoming palatable, agreeable, or impressive. But what we become in this process is often a watered-down version of ourselves, a blurred outline of who we truly are. The paradox is this: The moment we cease to chase respect, the moment we root ourselves in our own being, the moment we embrace the uncomfortable truth of our own messy, imperfect existence, that is when a different kind of respect begins to emerge. It's not a respect granted by others, but an undeniable resonance, a recognition of authenticity that radiates from within. The subtle tyranny of comparison is a heavy burden, pressing down on the individual spirit. We are perpetually measuring ourselves against an imagined ideal, a fabricated standard of what respected looks like. This incessant internal tallying, this relentless accounting of our perceived shortcomings, breeds a deep-seated anxiety. It's a fear that we are not enough, that our inherent worth is conditional upon meeting these external benchmarks. This fear, in turn, fuels a cycle of striving and performing, a desperate attempt to mold ourselves into an image that we believe will finally earn us the coveted nod of approval. But the very act of chasing this external validation paradoxically pushes genuine respect further away. It's a self-defeating prophecy. The more we seek to impress, the less authentic we become, and authenticity is the very ground from which true respect grows. To change this means confronting the insidious belief that our value is derived from external sources. It means a courageous turning inward, a willingness to sit with the discomfort of not being seen, of not being applauded, and still finding an unwavering sense of self. This is not indifference to others, but a profound commitment to one's own truth, a quiet revolution against the endless demands of superficial validation. The constant hunger for external validation is a profound symptom of a deeper fracture within. It's a self-inflicted wound, where the inherent worth of being is made conditional upon the fluctuating perceptions of the world outside. We are taught, perhaps by societal osmosis or early childhood experiences, that our value is a delicate artifact, easily shattered by disapproval, easily fortified by praise. This sets us on a tireless quest, a relentless striving to craft an image that will solicit the desired response, to perform a role that will earn the applause. But what if the stage is empty? What if the audience is merely a projection of our own unresolved fears? The more we surrender our inner compass to the shifting winds of external opinion, the more we become disoriented, losing the very ground upon which authentic self-respect stands. The respect we seek, therefore, cannot be granted by another. It must be cultivated from within, a quiet blossoming that defies the need for external sunlight. It's the courageous act of standing in one's own truth, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it doesn't align with the prevailing narrative. This internal alignment is the only true source of the genuine regard we crave, for it is then that we resonate with an integrity that speaks for itself. The illusion of control over how others perceive us is a seductive but ultimately debilitating trap. We invest immense energy in curating an external facade, a polished version of ourselves designed to elicit admiration, approval, and consequently, respect. But this constant performance depletes our vital reserves, leaving us exhausted and perpetually anxious that the true self might somehow peek through the carefully constructed veneer. The shift Alan Watts speaks of is a profound turning inward, a relinquishing of this desperate need to manage external perceptions. It's the realization that genuine respect is not something granted by others, but an intrinsic quality that radiates from a place of radical self-acceptance. When we deny our own complexities, our flaws, our shadows, in pursuit of an idealized image, we simultaneously deny others the opportunity to connect with our authentic humanity. We become less, not more, relatable. The true change lies in daring to be unpopular, to be misunderstood, to stand firm in our own convictions, even when they diverge from the prevailing currents. This act of courageous authenticity is the only fertile ground upon which true self-respect can take root, and it is from this deep internal wellspring that a different kind of recognition, one far more meaningful and enduring, will ultimately emerge. The insistent whisper of "what will they think" is a constant companion for those trapped in the cycle of seeking external validation. It's a phantom limb, an appendage of the ego that perpetually reaches outward, grasping for affirmation. This habit of external referencing leaves us hollow, for true self-worth cannot be deposited from outside. It must be generated from within. The core of this necessary transformation lies in confronting the deeply ingrained fear of not being enough, a fear that often manifests as a relentless striving for perfection or an insistent need to control how we are perceived. We become chameleons, shifting our colors to blend into whatever environment promises the most acceptance. But this camouflage, while offering temporary safety, ultimately obscures our true essence, making genuine connection impossible. To truly shift, we must dismantle the inner architecture of conditional worth, brick by painful brick. It's a journey of self-discovery, of recognizing that our inherent value is not a prize to be won, but a given, a birthright. When we no longer outsource our sense of dignity to the fleeting opinions of others, a profound freedom emerges, and with it, an undeniable presence that naturally commands a different kind of respect, one born of authenticity, not artifice. The constant hunger for external validation is a cage fashioned from the desperate desire to be seen, to be approved of. It's a subtle yet profound betrayal of the self, where inner truth is sacrificed on the altar of public perception. We endlessly adjust our sails to catch the winds of popular opinion, believing that if we can just align ourselves perfectly, respect will follow. But this constant adaptation leaves us adrift, without an anchor in our own being. Alan Watts's insight points to a fundamental shift, the liberation from this external dependency. It's a radical act of self-possession, a reclaiming of our inherent worth from the hands of fleeting judgment. This shift is not about becoming indifferent to others, but about cultivating a self-respect so robust that it doesn't waver in the face of disapproval or misunderstanding. It's about recognizing that the dignity we seek is not a gift bestowed by the world, but an undeniable quality of our own existence. To truly change, then, is to cease performing for an audience that may never truly understand, and instead, to listen to the quiet, unwavering voice of our own authenticity. This internal alignment is the bedrock upon which genuine respect, both self-respect and the respect of others, is finally built. The shadow of others' expectations looms large, often obscuring the light of our own unique spirit. We internalize these external demands, twisting and shaping ourselves into a mold that we believe will finally earn the elusive prize of respect. This constant striving, this perpetual performance is a self-inflicted wound, for it divorces us from the very essence of who we are. True respect, as Watts implies, isn't something to be gained from the outside. It's an internal awakening, a recognition of our inherent worth that needs no external validation. The profound change lies in disentangling our sense of self from the fluctuating opinions of the world. It's a courageous act of returning to our own center, of finding the unshakable core that exists independently of applause or criticism. When we relinquish the desperate need to control how we are perceived, a deep liberation occurs. We cease to be puppets dancing on the strings of others' judgments and begin to move with the unburdened grace of authenticity. This internal sovereignty is the only true source of dignity, and it is from this place that a genuine, resonant respect naturally emanates, a respect that cannot be given or taken away by anyone else. The mirror held up by society is often distorted, reflecting not our true essence but the fleeting images we believe are required for acceptance. We are perpetually caught in a dance of presentation, meticulously crafting a self that we hope will earn the coveted nod of respect. But this relentless performance, this desperate striving for external validation, hollows us out from within. It creates a profound disjunction between who we are and who we pretend to be, leading to an insidious form of self-betrayal. Alan Watts's insight speaks to a radical reorientation, a turning away from the outward gaze, and a courageous descent into the authentic depths of our own being. The change lies in recognizing that respect is not a trophy to be won, but an inherent dignity to be acknowledged. It is the brave act of shedding the myriad masks we wear, revealing the vulnerable, imperfect yet utterly unique self beneath. When we cease to chase after the fickle applause of the world, when we dare to stand firmly in our own truth, we cultivate an inner integrity that resonates far beyond words. This profound shift is the bedrock upon which genuine respect, both self-respect and the authentic regard of others, is finally built. The insidious belief that our worth is contingent upon external validation is a cage of our own making. We meticulously craft an image, a persona designed to garner approval, convinced that respect is a commodity to be earned through endless performance. But this pursuit is a Sisyphean task, leaving us perpetually exhausted and fundamentally unseen. Alan Watts's profound observation points to a radical liberation, the recognition that true respect isn't something granted by others, but an intrinsic quality cultivated through relentless authenticity. The change is not about manipulating perceptions, but about dismantling the very need to do so. It's a courageous turning inward, a deliberate disengagement from the endless mirroring of others' expectations. When we cease to chase the fickle applause of the crowd, when we bravely stand in the quiet integrity of our own being, a different kind of presence emerges. This is not defiance, but sovereignty. It is the deep understanding that our inherent value is not up for negotiation, that our dignity is not conditional. From this bedrock of self-acceptance, a resonant truth emanates, attracting genuine respect not through striving, but through simply being. The desperate dance of validation is a performance that eventually exhausts the soul. We meticulously curate our external self, hoping to elicit a specific response from the world, mistaking that manufactured approval for genuine respect. But this relentless striving disconnects us from our truest essence, leaving us hollow, constantly seeking something outside ourselves that can only be found within. Alan Watts's wisdom points to a radical turning, a courageous dismantling of this external dependency. The profound shift lies in understanding that respect is not a currency to be earned, but an inherent dignity to be honored. It is the brave act of shedding the myriad costumes we wear, revealing the raw, authentic self beneath. When we cease to chase the fleeting applause of others, when we dare to stand firmly in the truth of our own being, a different kind of presence emerges. This isn't arrogance, but integrity. It is the deep recognition that our value is not negotiable, that our worth is not conditional upon external approval. From this bedrock of self-acceptance, a quiet authority emanates, attracting genuine respect, not through outward display, but through simply being who we are, unapologetically. The ceaseless effort to gain the elusive respect of others is a profound act of self-renunciation. We labor under the delusion that if we simply conform enough, achieve enough, or perform enough, the world will finally grant us the validation we crave. But this endless pursuit is a treadmill, leading nowhere but further away from the authentic core of ourselves. Alan Watts's insight beckons us toward a radical reorientation, to recognize that true respect isn't bestowed, but discovered within. The change is not about external adjustments, but about an internal revolution, a dismantling of the desperate need to be seen through others' eyes. It's the courageous act of trusting our own inner compass, even when it points away from the familiar paths of approval. When we cease to contort ourselves into shapes palatable to the external gaze, when we dare to stand in the quiet integrity of our own being, a different kind of strength emerges. This strength is not about dominance, but about authenticity. It is the deep knowing that our worth is intrinsic, immutable, and requires no external endorsement. From this place of profound self-acceptance, a resonant truth emanates, attracting genuine respect not through striving but through the simple, powerful act of being authentically ourselves. The incessant pursuit of external validation is a quiet form of self-erasure. We tirelessly seek to fit ourselves into molds created by others' expectations, believing that respect is a reward for conformity. This constant striving, this ceaseless performance, ultimately diminishes our own unique light, leaving us perpetually feeling like an imitation rather than the original. Alan Watts's profound insight suggests a fundamental shift, to recognize that true respect is not a gift bestowed by the world, but an inherent quality that blossoms from radical self-acceptance. The real transformation lies in shedding the desperate need to control how we are perceived, to release the burden of external approval. It is a courageous act of turning inward, of discovering the unwavering core of our being that exists independently of others' fleeting judgments. When we cease to contort ourselves for the benefit of an imagined audience, when we dare to stand authentically in our own truth, a different kind of power emerges. This power is not about influence, but about integrity. It is the deep knowing that our worth is non-negotiable, that our dignity is intrinsic. From this bedrock of genuine self-regard, a resonant presence emanates, attracting true respect, not through effort, but through the simple, profound act of being ourselves, unburdened and free. The deepest shift required for genuine respect is an internal revolution, a dismantling of the desperate need to be validated by the external world. We have been conditioned to believe that our worth is a fragile commodity, dependent on the fickle opinions of others. This leads to a relentless performance, a constant shaping of ourselves to fit an imagined ideal, all in the hope of earning a fleeting nod of approval. But this constant striving is a profound betrayal of the self, severing us from our own authentic core. Alan Watts's wisdom implores us to cease this outward chase and instead to turn inward, to uncover the unwavering dignity that already resides within. The change is not about manipulating how others see us, but about radically accepting ourselves, flaws and all. It is the courageous act of shedding the heavy armor of expectation, of daring to stand in our own truth, even when it feels uncomfortable or exposed. When we cease to seek respect as an external prize, when we firmly anchor ourselves in our own being, a different kind of presence emerges. This presence is not about dominance, but about authenticity, a quiet power that resonates with an undeniable truth. It is only from this profound self-respect that the genuine regard of others can truly blossom, recognizing us not for who we pretend to be, but for who we truly are.